Events in years gone by, Peter Wright is still here on the last day. But Dave Chisnall is still looking for a first title in a while.
25.
And in order to have a chance at that later on this afternoon,
Bullseye, Peter's
he's going to have to take out the world champion and world number 1. First things first, this is your lineup for the quarterfinals. Keegan Brown up against Brendan Dolan. That's at the top of the draw. Then you've got Damon Hetter against Mensa Sulevic on the other streaming board. If you're choosing to tune into that one with Chris Murphy and Dan Dawson, I do not blame you. Because Mensah is the only person who can take Roby John Rodriguez out of the world match play spots. That is the subplot to the tournament
62
that we have today. Then you've got Chisnall and Wright. And then to finish off your quarterfinals, it's a couple of other heavyweights in Aspinall and Clayton. You have people looking for their first win in a while. And in some cases, their first win of the year. This is the second different setup I've seen from Peter Wright this week.
58.
The other one, he was getting the darts to land very flat. But he was saying a little bit this morning that he wanted to throw something that was
133.
Giving him comfort. That wasn't that hard to throw. Obviously, these work to a certain degree because coming into the quarterfinals, he's hit 19 180s.
83.
Averaging almost 5 a game. That'll work most of the time.
96.
Just to put some sort of perspective on that, Dave Chisnall's hit 14, and he's still 5 behind Peter Wright in the 180 count for today. I'll give you an
63.
insight into how they've got to this point at the conclusion of the first leg. This is the last stage of this tournament where it will be best of 11. Tops for Dave.
50.
Too much flight activity on the way through. Gives Peter Wright a chance to hold in 6 visits in leg 1. Still possible. Double 19.
Game shot.
Great save. Wasn't the ideal route, but they don't put finishes on trophies. In fact, it's not a trophy they're going to get for the end of the day. It's going to be £12,000. And for Peter Wright, it would be the tiniest bit more distance between himself and Gerwin Price at the top of the rankings.
100.
But as for today, Wright has beaten Bradley Brooks, Jermaine Watamina, Roby John Rodriguez, putting
57.
him on the shelf right now. But then his best performance of the day came in the last round, beating Niels Zonneveld by 6 legs to 2 with an average in excess of 109. And in
100.
fact, there's only been one better performance all day long, and that came from his opponent in this match. That was when Dave Chisnall gave James Wade a bit of a spanking. 6 legs to 1, averaging 109.45.
100.
These guys have played each other an inordinate amount of times. So they know their games inside out.
134.
They know exactly what to expect. It's no great secret. They're both massive 180 hitters. So they know that some of these legs are going to be won in the first 6 starts. If you can get a really big start and the other guy doesn't, it will be leg over. Just like that. Chisnall 13 darts. As for Dave's day, Danny Van Truyck was his first victim. Then Richie Burnett, with 2 averages that were very similar, 92 plus. Then that big performance against Wade, followed by a really good encounter with Michael Smith. winning today's Alan Tavern Trophy in 10 legs. Very little to separate the two, both averaging 96 plus.
60.
And this game could follow that very pattern. I just wonder when it was that Chisnall decided it was time to go to a one-piece stem and flight combination, because for years now, as long as I've known Dave, he's used a two-piece setup of stem and flight combination where he has to put the flight inside the stem. This is a one-piece thing. He's obviously tried something out. And if he wins today, he may be saying that these are two-steer.
140.
Same sort of thing for Peter Wright. He's got a one-piece combo on as well.
140.
Who said dart players don't follow fashion? They love a trend. 51 bull. Now where does Peter Wright go on
53.
66? If you're feeling super confident, a lot of guys go bull here. Because he does like double 16 as a backup.
50.
When those darts hit the board, this setup, they fly really pure. Double 4 for Dave, and it's for a break. It's almost as if Peter Wright, who was not looking at the board, already knew when Dave threw the first dart that it was in the 60. It's almost like he knew the sound of a treble 20. Or maybe he just knew that Dave was going to hit it.
137.
Good performance from Chizzy right now. 105 average after 3 legs. Right, about 10 behind. But no panic stations yet.
91.
I suppose this year for Peter has been
180.
A bit strange. As we get a 180 from Dave. World Championship win in early January. Not a massive amount of success since
83.
Then. Peter's not been competing at his optimum level in Europe.
134.
But he has won on the floor back in Players Championship 2, beating Gedwin Price in the final. By 8 legs to 5. That was a very tough day for Peter. Beating
48.
Price, beating Heta, beating Cross. Some proper performances in there. Chizzy's on tops for the halfway point.
Game shot.
And does so in 12 darts. This is another massive performance from the man in yellow. A lot of you darts fans out there will be thinking this is just normal Dave Chisnall. I would agree. He's been in a pretty good place the last few days. He's had some decent performances, but he hasn't won a
59.
title in PDC darts since the 16th of June 2019, when he won a European Tour event in Copenhagen. Since then, he has
59.
lost in 5 finals. 2 Players Championship finals to Ryan Joyce and James Wade. Lost
60.
in the final of the Gibraltar Darts Trophy to Christoph Ratajski. And the Masters final this year. That Masters final could well have cost
60.
him a place in the Premier League. We'll just never know.
$140.
Not really happy with that dart. Didn't give it a chance. The dart came out of his hand a bit late. If you think about Dave's season, there's been an inordinate amount of consistency over the last few days. He's just looking to go one better. Quarter-final on Friday. Last 16 Saturday. Last 16 yesterday. He's in the last 16
45.
again. Coming into this quarter-final. So, a ridiculous consistency over the 4 days. If he wins this game, it will be his best effort
100.
of the week. And still the opportunity of walking away with the first title in 3 years. That was the case for Adrian Lewis yesterday,
55.
wasn't it? The old drought breaker. Double 4 this time for Wright.
Game shot.
They know how to hit that finish, don't they? Still advantage Chisnall. Break already banked. And Wright must bridge that sooner rather than later. Later scores from the outer boards.
134.
Johnny Clayton 4-1 up on Nathan Aspinall. He's looking for his first win of the season. Damon Hetter is 2-1 up on Mensa Sulevic. That key match for the match play race. If Hetter wins, the match play field is in the books.
140.
Thankfully, no fire alarms today, so everybody is in full concentration mode, not being interrupted.
100.
When I look at these darts of Peter Wright, I like what I see. I've seen him throw these before. And I'm of the same sort of thinking as Dan Dawson now.
180.
As we see another max from Dave. I think his constant changing is a strength, not a weakness.
100.
It would take too long to explain that thought process. So let's go on with Dave at tops.
Game shot.
Very good for a 4-2 lead. I was talking about how much these guys had played each other. I hadn't enlightened you as to how many times. In fact, they've played each other 30 different
100.
occasions. Peter Wright is 17-13 up. But their last meeting was well over a year ago at the UK Open, which was won by Dave Chisnall by 10 legs to 5. And Dave won on that occasion with over 100 average. Of course they will have met loads of times. They've played in Premier Leagues together, Masters together, Grand
83.
Slams, World Championships, you name it. Have played each other in the World Championship back in 2016. Peter Wright won that by 4 sets to 3. Corking game. 103 average Wright, 102 Chisnall. They're the kind of matches you want to see.
140.
At Alexandra Palace in the last 16. There can't be many tournaments that they haven't played each other in fact.
140.
Peter is in a bit of bother now.
100.
I'm fascinated to see where Dave goes here. Some people would go bull. Not Dave. 86 remain. Chance for Wright. But it's only for
40.
a hold. Got to be straight. Is. Got to be in.
38.
And isn't. Now Chisnall goes bull, which I'm sure he will. He'll be hoping. Don't hit the bull. That's not the worst dart in the world. 11. Leaves tops. And he
45.
can't hit what Wright couldn't. Can Wright hit what Chisnall
Game
couldn't?
shot.
There's your answer. 103.9 the average for Chisnall in this one so far. And Wright at 92 is clinging on. He's not playing to the same level that we have seen from him at points this week. And he has had some great performances. Over the course of the week, he's probably averaging about 100, if not a little
55.
bit better. But in his own words, he did struggle in the heat yesterday against Pete Burgoyne and had his worst performance of the week, averaging 90.
100.
Therein lies a certain message to everybody watching. If you want to have a bad performance these days is an average of 90.
137.
Johnny Clayton is the closest to the semi-finals right now. He's 5-3 up on Aspinall. Damon Heta is 4-1 up on Mensah Suljovic. He's getting really close
126.
to doing Roby John Rodriguez a huge, huge favour. Keegan Brown is 4-2 down to Brendan Dolan as this tournament in Players' Championship 21 starts to take shape.
54.
As we will have our 4th different winner in 4 tournaments. Gonna switch because he's got 99 left. Oh, he's decided to go back up north. Obviously like the lie. And he's taken tops out of the equation.
96.
Peter left frustrated on 159. He can't believe he's left that.
Game shot.
It didn't matter in the end, so don't beat yourself up, Snakebite. What you need now is a hold to give yourself any sort of chance. We have our first semi-finalist. It's Johnny Clayton, still looking for his first win in 2022. He's taken out the very dangerous Nathan Aspinall, who's had a really impressive few days with 2 semi-finals and a quarter-final.
96.
Plenty of ranking money and confidence going into his match play campaign, which will start either at the end of this week or early next week. That's more like it from Snakebite. That's what's been missing in this match. Back comes Dave. It's almost as if somebody hits a 180 against him and he is like a bee to honey. Oh, that's right. That's what I'm capable of.
100.
He's going to stay for the next dart, but switch with the next one.
41.
25 was the minimum ask. And maybe 15s was the play. He was thinking in that sort of way. Peter Wright gets 2 25s.
50.
Can't get the tops. But no panic stations yet.
41.
In all seriousness, I think Dave Chisnall is looking forward to the next leg already. He'd be right. Because Peter has now got within 1, and this one is where Snakebite needs to break Dave Chisnall. Heta 5, Suljovic 2. 1 more leg for the Aussie.
59.
And Suljovic can't make the match play. Same scoreline out on another board where Keegan Brown is 5-2 down. But isn't it good to see Keegan having a run today? He's had a somewhat tumultuous 2022. Maybe he's figured something out over the last few days which he can use for the rest of the season.
108.
That's how Dave Chisnall uses that visit. Painful for Peter. Can he back up a 180 just the way that Dave did in the previous leg?
140.
Not quite. But he does have a half dart lead.
$92.
Sets up a 170 to win the match. And he will go for it. because Wright was always going to be on a finish of some sort of note.
140.
We saw Dirk do this on Friday to finish a match. Can Dave do the same? He might.
140.
A width of a wire away. Tremendous effort. But now Peter Wright could win this match. But first, must take this 87. Is he going to leave himself the bullseye? Yes.
62.
He can't find it. He's further away. And Chisnall has options to finish Snakebite off, to make the semis for the first time this week. It's double 4. It's there.
On the match.
Chisnall is in the last 4, and what I can exclusively tell you, news from the other streaming board as well, is that Roby John Rodriguez is going to the World Match Play because Mensa Sulovic has been beaten. So it is Dave Chisnall through. He is going to take on Johnny Clayton in the semi-finals after that masterful performance against the world champion.